Well, hello and welcome back to Read Becca for another weekly catch-up on my reading. Everything I read this week, everything I'm currently reading, and everything I'm looking forward to reading. So let's dive into the books that I finished this week. First, we have Paradise Falls by Keith O'Brien, which I can't talk too much about how I felt because it is in judging for the Book 2 prize. This is one of my 6 books. So this one is focused on the Love Canal toxic chemical dump site, and that was something going on from the 40s into the early 80s mainly, leading into EPA intervention and Superfund becoming a thing at the national level. So I think that's about all I can say, but this does take a very investigative journalism approach, looking at the individuals who were fighting to sort of advocate for themselves in this case, living in that community. Next, I balanced with something a little lighter, and that is Basil and Oregano by Melissa Capriglione. And I follow Dark Horse on social media. They're a publisher of graphic novels, and when I saw they had this coming out, I immediately put a hold on at the library, and it actually came in from the city library before the county library got theirs in, so this got transferred over for me very happily. So what was this? This was just adorable fluff, I would say. We're following 2 characters, Basil and Arabella Oregano. Arabella Oregano is this blonde daughter of a super famous magician, and she is coming to Magic Culinary Academy for the first time. It makes a big splash there. And meanwhile, Basil is kind of a poor, unpopular student, I would say. There's a big class element to this, that the poor kids are kind of pushed out and bullied a little bit. But Magic Culinary Academy, of course, means this is a magic school and a cooking type of book. So I loved every aspect of that. We also have familiars. All the kids kind of get familiars, and they team up at one point. And so these 2's familiar is this little tomato dog that they call Tomato, of course. So this is full of adorable stuff in terms of them learning lessons about their cooking. They're getting into scrapes and kind of fighting back against the bullies, because as I said, there's kind of a class element where the rich kids are really snobby to the kids who are there on scholarship, and that's a really big element to this. There were a number of things that didn't totally work for me in this. They are all working toward this big end of year cooking competition. So that, of course, is so fun. But everyone seems to be vying to be top student. And Basil is, of course, under stress because she is a poor student. She's on scholarship. She will lose her scholarship if she's not top student. And that seems ridiculous to me. Of course, like, everyone's not going to have to be top student to get a scholarship, right? And Arabella, of course, is under pressure from her mom as this famous person. She has to be top student. So neither of them know or have admitted to each other that they're under all this pressure. So that's the drama behind the scenes that they're not letting each other in on. And meanwhile, they're sort of growing a friendship that is maybe becoming something more with each other. And so there's a sapphic element there. Something that just didn't totally work for me in terms of the characterization is that they seem quite a bit younger than is stated that they are. So they're supposed to be seniors in this world. And it feels like they're both new to the school as seniors, which is a little odd, but they also feel much younger than that. So they're meant to be about 17. They feel like they're maybe young teens, 13, 14. And the book very much reads like it's geared toward a younger audience. Did I really mind that? No. It was great fun, cute and fluffy. It's full of magic and food. So this was a great one. I do love the art style, especially. Much like The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich recently, they both have a very bright, colorful art style all the way through, and sort of an odd, anachronistic mix of historical and modern feeling elements. I mean, these kids even have phones and stuff. So it feels like a weird mix, but it works. So this was great fun, a great brain break from some heavier reading that I have been doing. And last for this week is Letters to a Young Muslim by Omar Sahif Gobash that I've been working on, chipping away at one letter at a time for quite some time. And I really enjoyed this. I feel like this was a read that was great for challenging myself and my sort of preconceptions, because I don't know a ton about Islam. And I do feel like I took a lot away just from that perspective of sort of understanding what it looks like to be a progressive Muslim and the things that he wants for his son, because this is all structured in letters that he is writing to his son. Do I think that's really what this is? Not totally, because he explains very basic things about Islam that I would hope someone in a Muslim family would know. Things about, like, what's the difference between a Sunni and Shia Muslim, and so that sort of thing, like, why do we believe the things we believe, is very much built up there. And I think that's important for a non-Muslim reader like myself. I also think I took away a lot in terms of his personal ideals, and the fact that he, writing through this, feels very even-handed and balanced in his perspective about Islam, and in being critical of the things that are bad about Islam and the problems of Islam, and why he wants his son to have a certain life in the religion, because he sees the positives of it in addition to the negatives. So I do feel like he has a very honest and self-aware view of his own religion in getting it across here. So I thought that was really great. In terms of the negatives that he sees in Islam, I feel like those are very stark, and it's maybe one of the things that didn't work for me as well here, is that seeing him so balanced and talking through these problems in a self-critical way of the things he's seen, I do feel like he wants to get across to his child that he is going to encounter extremes, and that those extremes are not representative of the good that's within the religion, right? But I don't feel like the author ever really self-reflects or talks critically about the idea of why those extremes can exist within the religion. Like, if the religion is as perfect and good as he says, how do those extremistic ideas grow up and flourish within the religion, right? So he never takes it to that far step. I do feel like it's wonderful that he has the perspective to look at his son's life and say, I want you to have the freedom and to have the thought to go into these situations that are going to be challenging for you, and I don't want to control you. I want you to be equipped with critical thinking to think through these problematic, extremist situations that you may encounter within the religion, and come away with a well-reasoned reaction to them, rather than falling to propaganda and whatnot. But at the same time, he is literally talking about things like his young child in school or church being propagandized about military service or even suicide bombing. And for me, that's a pretty severe abdication of parental duty of care to your child to get them out of actively harmful situations. And, you know, even to what I was saying earlier, like, how do you not go through the internal processing of how can that exist within the school, within the church, in these positions of power, and me accept that? Why would you not be actively fighting against that more broadly? And I think it's good that he doesn't jump to emotion and jump to his own extreme in response to it. But I think that's probably something that you should outright disengage from. Like, if your church is espousing and propagandizing suicide bombings, that's not a church you should be going to. And even at one point in his youth, when he was kind of first finding his way as an adult, he stumbled into a church that was like that and really disliked their ideals and walked away. And so it seems strange to me that he's kind of wishy-washy about it in his own child's life. So maybe that's stuff that we are not seeing in the fullness of because he's writing these for sort of a public audience, but that just seemed very odd to me. So I do also appreciate the fact that he is coming at this from a perspective that he wants to improve Islam. He wants to see what we can be in a coexisting and pluralistic world rather than embracing theocracy. So the author is from the UAE and is an ambassador to Russia, interestingly. His father or his mother was Russian and his father was from the UAE. And so he has that background, and his father was also in a high-ranking sort of diplomatic role, if I recall. And so he has a very privileged position, but also has a lot of connections with a non-Islamic world. And so it's really curious to see that mix, where I don't know if you would see the same perspective from someone who was totally raised immersed in Islam. In many ways it was all throughout his life, but he lived in areas where it wasn't dominantly Islamic. And so he has a unique lens to portray this information from. So that's a ramble. I don't know that I have a ton more to say about it because this is kept very simple and straightforward, but I did take away a lot from it. So I'm very glad I read this finally. This was on my yearly TBR for a couple of years. And every time I read something like this, it really reminds me how much I like these kind of challenging and reflective religious books. I used to read quite a bit from a religious perspective, just purely because I like looking into what other people believe, and I have a fascination with that. So I'm glad I picked this up because I need to do that more often. I think I've kind of gotten away from it in the past couple of years, more so than previously. So yeah, I should be picking up more of this type of book. So good one. I liked it. Didn't agree with everything, but I think it imparted a lot of new ideas for me. Then, of course, the endless pile of currently in progress reads that I'm working through. It's feeling a little better than it has been, but I've got my Fourth Time We Drowned by Hayden, my next BookTube prize book. Got Terraformers by Annalee Newitz. A Slice of Mars by Guerric. Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. And Byzantium by Stephen Lawhead. So those are my in progress works currently. I also watched a number of things this week. I finished up The Bear Season 2. I think I may have already mentioned this, but if I didn't, the secondary cast this season was insane. So good. Just like off the wall. Just wonderful performances. Season 1 and Season 2. I also finished up Secret Chef. I binged it basically this weekend. It just came out on Hulu. It is a new cooking competition that, of course, I'm always in for those. And I really like the premise of this. This is like they are all judging and tasting each other's food, the chefs that are competing, and actually rating and secretly doing that with alter egos, basically. So no one knows who each other are, and they have to like try and figure it out. And it's all created by David Chang, which he's brilliant, but I enjoyed that show, and it reminded me a lot of a Netflix series that I think came out last year that also had sort of no host, and the people are living in the same house doing cooking competitions. So definitely a new favorite cooking competition type show. And then I also watched a movie documentary. I don't know what to call it. It's sort of a special journalistic hour-long documentary called Freedom to Exist, which was so good. It is really centering Elliot Page, who is a trans man actor, recently came out and transitioned very publicly and just had his memoir Page Boy released. And this centers him and also features quotes from the book. So I thought that was interesting, but it also expands to centering many other trans individuals and their stories, the parents of some trans kids, and expressing everything that these people have been through to advocate for themselves. I thought that was great. It is a bit like 101 level, so if you know a trans person, this is probably not going to contain anything new for you, but I thought it was very well presented. It does also feature N.D. Stevenson, who is the creator and artist of Nimona, which also was just recently released on Netflix, I think, the adaptation of that. So I'm really looking forward to checking out Nimona. on Netflix because that is a comic that I've loved, and I didn't realize that it was them actually initially when I was watching, and then only realized after the fact. So really fantastic documentary if you have access to it. I think it was put out by ABC on one of their news programs as a special, and I watched it on Hulu as well, so it was available on there. Really thought it was fantastic. So I think that's it for watching stuff. My week has been crazy. I didn't have power yesterday because we got storms blowing through for most of the day, so not fun when it's like 100 degrees out, but it was fine. My back has been killing me. I've been a little worried about it, but it's feeling much better today. So I was a little under the weather and lacking power yesterday. I think that's really it. Obviously going into this weekend is Canada Day, so a belated happy Canada Day to all my Canadian friends, and it is the 4th of July here in the US. So while I don't get a 3-day weekend, I do get a weird Tuesday off for the holiday, so that will be a nice break in my week and some extra reading time as well. I definitely am going to try to go and visit the sort of 4th of July event in the area. We have many, so I'm going to go to one of them. I think that's it for the week. In terms of recommendations this time around, I have 2, I think. So the first one is from a group that I have followed for a while, and every single thing they post on YouTube is well worth watching. They are from the Center for Science and Imagination at Arizona State University, and they often have panel discussions from like either scientific specialists or science fiction authors who combine that with some sort of scientific specialization. And so this particular discussion had a number of people. The 2 I recognized were Tobias S. Buckle and Annalee Newitz, who we saw the book from earlier. Great discussion as always. Annalee often brings great expertise to their discussions, so really enjoyed that. And the other one is from the local higher education channel. They hosted a recorded author conversation, so this was not a public event, it was just a one-on-one recorded conversation with Kay Redfield Jamison, who previously wrote An Unquiet Mind about her own experiences with bipolar disorder, and she has a new book coming out, I believe, so that's why they were interviewing her. So I know there was a lot of buzz around An Unquiet Mind when it came out, but I haven't personally read it, but this was a fantastic author conversation, definitely. So I would really be interested to pick that up later. So both great videos this week. I think that's it for me this week, so thank you so much for watching. Ooh, you're so zoomy. Get that right dot.